Hi, it is, I think it's day 104 of 365 days of remembering. Hi, Trina right here. And I've been doing these little wake up videos. Given the state of the world, it's just a fun little time to bring some consciousness to yourself and bring some consciousness to where you want your center to be, where you want to have your focus come through. And I was listening to something this morning that was talking about the power of perception, down to the point that how you perceive everything is constantly, whether you know it or not, being filtered through something. It's being filtered through every past experience you've had. It's being filtered through your beliefs. It's being filtered through your mood, through where you sit emotionally. And if you're spiritual, the word alignment might have some meaning to you. So how you're aligned. And by that, I simply mean how centered you are, like where you're originating from. Are you originating from the inner landscape of yourself, from a space that knows your strengths, whether you want to call them strengths of the person side of you, or whether you want to call it like your inner resource strengths of having a space that you can reset and come into and feel the fullness of who you are, where all those things in any given moment are at play with whatever it is that you have going on. So, given that we're in a time where there seems to be a lot going on, it makes sense that we take the time that we have. This is very, very valuable. This is a really important thing. It's not only an important thing for right now to serve you because we have this stuff going on and because maybe the structure of your life looks a little different, the flow of your day-to-day experience is different, which always calls us. Initially, you know what I find so amusing is most people, me included, and if you think about it, I'm sure you can find times in your life, when we have something that isn't what we want it to be, the first course of action we often have is to change something in our circumstantial experience to fix it. So often we put these detective little caps on and we get our little detective notebook out and we start looking through our life for the thing. Let me just find the thing that is responsible for this feeling that I have that I don't like right now, whether it's a feeling of sadness or grief or angst or uneasiness or antsiness. I think often for people it's antsiness. So whatever that feeling is, to spend some time tracking that feeling down so that in knowing what the feeling is, then you can figure out what you need to change to make the feeling be different. So we believe that we can maneuver or manipulate our circumstances to bring ourselves back to the feeling good place. But this circumstance that we're all facing on a day-to-day basis, even if you forget and even if it feels surreal, you wake up and you go, oh yeah, that's right. I can't leave my house to the degree I want. Maybe I'm not going to work. Oh yeah, that's right. I'm not taking the kids to school. Some of these things, or go to the grocery store. You know, I had an experience where I was just kind of playing with the idea that everything is perfectly fine and I was using my imagination. And it lasted until I got to the grocery store and wondered why all of the outdoor patio furniture had been covered and there was a sign that said, you know, closed. And I almost asked someone and then I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Go in the store and see the little squares that are on the floor, reminding us how far we need to stay apart from each other. It doesn't take long to have that circumstance right there. And so given this time where those circumstances, not only are they powerful, not only are they strong, it's hard to get away from it in some ways, especially if you're on social media or talk to your family very much, but there's not a thing we can do about it. So we can't actually do something with our action to make that outer condition, outer circumstance different. We can't manipulate it enough to make ourselves feel good. So the call for that then is to come back to ourselves and take the time to sit with ourselves and say, okay, so I can't change it, but what is the perspective that I am using to look at not just it, but my day-to-day experience? How am I meeting each moment? How am I meeting the day? How am I meeting myself? How am I meeting my partner, my children? Every single thing, including the thing that need not be named, that is the circumstance outside of us. But it doesn't have to just be the virus. It could be the economy. It could be my job. It could be whatever, fear, worry, all those things that you have. What is it that I'm bringing to that meeting? Like what's in the room with me when I meet those things? And remember, it is your entire perspective, every experience you've ever had before, where you tend to find yourself. Like, are you somebody that worries a lot? Are you somebody that easily gets fearful? Are you somebody that feels really solid and secure and safe? Do you feel like you have a lot of vitality in your body, that you never get sick, and that you're a being of love and light? Because what you bring to each moment and how you meet it, just in terms of those simple thoughts or a belief structure or a framework, will dramatically impact every single one of those experiences that you have, including how you perceive the thing that's going on outside of you. So when we can't find a way to control it, which I don't think is the best way anyway, but it makes sense that we're all going to start there. We're all going to try to shift the conditions. It's like the person that leaves job after job, or hops from one relationship to another, or moves from city to city, because they think that that's the problem, until they come to the clean recognition that they take themselves with them, and it's not the thing that's the problem. It's the way you're perceiving the thing. It's the way you're lining up with the thing. It's the belief, and it's the fact that you did the research that took you to the belief, that you pinpointed it and said, that's the thing that needs to change so I can be happy. When in all intents and purposes, that's not true, because within you is all the resources you could ever need to just choose to be happy. What would it take to just choose to feel good? So I'm inviting you to have a little bit of awareness about what is the perspective that you live your life. Are you a person that sees the glass half empty or half full? Are you a person that has rose-colored glasses and colors the world good, or colors it from love and joy? Are you a person that is worryful and fretful and thinks when something happens out there, it could happen to me too? Because then that means you're taking your cue yet again from a circumstance. When you see someone else create something as an experience, that's what they created. It doesn't mean you have to take that on. You're totally free, and you don't have to play that game. You don't have to play in that. It's your choice. And so where do you put your freedom? Do you feel like you have a choice? Do you feel like the only control you have is over the environment? Or do you feel like you could have some control that centers around you? Choose better perspective. Choose ways to feel good. Wake up every day and say, I love my life. I do. I love my life. I love this beautiful house that I get to stay in. I love my beautiful partner. I love my children. And if you're alone, I love my freedom. I love that I have this beautiful space to nourish my soul. I love this opportunity to come back into myself so fully, to engage with myself in a way that maybe I never have, or I forgot how, to just have this sort of pause in my life. And if you're someone that maybe isn't experiencing the pause because now that you're working at home, you're working harder than ever, I'm so excited and so happy that I have a job that I'm still able to go to every single day in some way. I know lots and lots of teachers are finding themselves learning. What a cool opportunity for teachers to be called to be the learners. And as much as their life is their teaching, they're learning new ways to share information. They're learning new ways to stay connected with the kids that they're teaching, and finding potentially a whole new model of how we teach and how we share and how we learn that could be part of what's going to up-level us to a whole new way of being. We just don't know. But how exciting is that? So when we take these opportunities and we allow ourselves to sit with it and to notice, the only things in this moment that we can control in any given moment is how we feel, how we respond, what we choose to do next. That's really the ticket. That's the key. And if you're on a spiritual path, then I invite you to say, as a spiritually conscious being, this is what I'm being called to do, and this is what I'm going to do, especially if you fall into the category of being someone that feels like you have this burning, strong desire, this burning light inside of you that wants to somehow be of service, somehow be an up-leveler in this experience, in this belief system that we are shifting and moving. And it seems so obvious if you sit and spend some time looking at it. So many areas of our experience are being called to that up-leveling. So many, it seems like the old is falling away to make room for the new. And no, it doesn't always feel good, but because of what we know, we can tune into a different aspect of that. We can tune into what it feels like to be in a different place, and to hold that, and to use our powerful intention to imagine what that energy would be like, and to imagine the possibilities that exist before us. Because as spiritually conscious beings, as beings engaged in the path of remembering, we're going to create a whole lot of different structures to support ourselves. I love to say, what would it be like if we created a world that was based on the enlightenment and evolution of each individual that is existing right now? that they're seen as a soul being, and their soul is seen as the most important thing. So we drop a whole bunch of things that are favoring distraction and favoring the delusion and favoring consumption and sleeping, and instead put the focus on awakening, put the focus on being true, being the love and light beings that we are, knowing that we're invincible and infinite. What would that world look like? And it's almost too much for us to fathom, because we're so trapped in the boxes of how we've done everything. And we do appreciate many, many aspects of the freedom that we enjoy, because it gives us the right, the ability, the privilege to be able to then question so many things that we might not be able to question if we weren't in this place, if we didn't sit in this, in some ways, privileged place. And some of the technology, some of the delusion serves us, but the parts that don't, it's time for them to start falling away. And how is that going to happen? It's going to happen by the power of our perspective. Just what I was talking about, the power of our choosing in every given moment. It's, you know, the world's going to come back to what they're believing is normal, and it's going to take those of us like us that's going to say, I'm picking a new normal. I'm just not going to get caught up in it. I'm not going to think I need to go back and buy a bunch of stuff. And when they tell me that we're all in this together and that I need to rebuild the economy, and so I need to do my part by buying and buying and buying, I'm going to take a pause and I'm going to think about how that serves me. And is that what I want to do? Do I want to live in a society where the focus is on consumption? Do I want to, or even production, or do I want to live in a society where the focus is on healing what needs to be healed, so that we can expand into the truth of who we are, so we can all have that experience of knowing who we are, so we all can step into the fullness of alignment, to the fullness of our truth, to the fullness of being backed by source, of being partnered with our inner being, of feeling the abundance that is right at our fingertips, of feeling the magic of the universe that not only has enough abundance for every single being here, but can figure out how to co-create and maneuver it and collate it and coalesce it all together, so that never in another moment does anyone have to feel unsafe, unsecure, unheld, unloved, unworthy. That's just not the direction that we want to see it. And what does it mean if we took that seriously and we decided, I'm going to make choices that are going to take me to that world? What do those choices look like? Because there is this little intermediate time that we're all going to face, where we're going from one to the other. And don't, you know, make no mistake that the beliefs that you choose and the actions that you choose and the focus that you choose and the intentions and how you hold your life and experience and how you wake up in the morning, and if you're refreshed and if you're invigorated and if you're seeing the best in all of it, those are the decisions that are going to lead to this up-leveling and lead to where you resonate with it. It doesn't mean there's going to be multiple different worlds, though there is parallel realities. It might simply just mean that your perception of things would be so much easier and so much better if you're cognizant about how you want to experience and what you want to feel. So I appreciate you attending to this with me, sharing my little walk with me. I invite you to go back out. As you know, I love nature. I think it's grounding. I think it's up-leveling. I think it's freeing, and I think it's something we all need, because it helps us attune to the truth of who we are. So I invite you to do that. I see you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you knowing that you're on a soul journey and taking the invitation that has been so clearly given. And I invite you to share anything that you're discovering, anything you want to talk about. Let's get some engagement going. Let's play with these ideas. Like, what are you seeing in yourself? What do you know needs to be shifted? How would you act if you knew that the up-leveling was partly in your hands and you're part of the co-creation of it? How would that change what you did? How would that change how you see? How would that change your relationships and your partnerships and just how you do life? And what would that life look like? What is the excitement about the new world? What do you want it to be? And how are you going to serve in coming to that? So I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.